It's actually cold here. It's actually cold here in Mexico. By cold, I mean like high 70s. So I want to talk about how I am making more money than I've made in a while my YouTube subscribers drop and my views are relatively low compared to the views I had when I first started my channel and some of the highs I've had when I've gone viral, and how there's this cognitive dissonance. It's almost like a confusion where I'm like, I associated for so long YouTube success with overall success, with financial success, with accomplishment and growth. And so I'm really noticing and feeling this tension of, wait, the thing that's super important to me, which is having a fat bank account and being able to pay off this debt and having this money and having savings, like these things are going so well. Meanwhile, the method that I thought would be the answer and the way, the path to getting these things, to me is actually in decline. And I think part of it is, where your energy goes, like where your attention flows, energy goes. And if I were to just look at how I spend my time and where I give my energy now compared to a few years ago, YouTube is like number 4. I'd say my number one thing is my spiritual practice, which when I started a YouTube channel, I would not say I've really had a robust spiritual practice. So that's now my number one most important thing, is me doing inner work and connecting to God and, doing all this healing and like releasing all these fears. That's what I spend a lot of my time thinking about, focused on, listening to audiobooks about, practicing, meditating, like that gets most of my energy, right? I then say the next thing is my coaching practice, right? So I support one-on-one clients with their creative journey. So specifically, I help folks launch and grow their YouTube channels, but in practice, it looks like a more sort of creative life coaching. So we end up, talking about relationships and family and, fears and all these other things. And often the reason why people struggle with showing up on YouTube is because of some limiting beliefs and some blocks they have. So it ends up being a lot of like really beautiful, emotional, holding, work. And I love doing that kind of work. So that takes up a lot of my time and energy because I love it. Part of my coaching program involves doing daily check-ins with my clients, right? So that takes energy and that takes time to really focus on holding space and supporting these folks. And I love it. I also do consulting. So I do consulting where I hold space for people as a part of Hello Creators weekly creator calls. And that has gotten even more of my energy lately because I went from essentially just showing up on those calls and being like, hey y'all, what's good? To like really intentionally thinking, okay, what do the folks in this community want to learn about? And then creating like presentations and slideshows and decks where I'm like sharing my knowledge in this more formal way. And similarly, I love it. Like no one asked me to make presentations, but I just love doing it so much. So the time that I would have spent thinking about YouTube videos and editing and planning and researching and SEO and all these different things, I'm instead spending in Canva, like creating this like 24-page slideshow for this Wednesday call. And again, I'm so happy. I love it so much. And then I also do another form of consulting where I facilitate essentially trainings on issues around social, emotional health. And relationships and, healing and, compassion and all these topics that are super important and beautiful to me. And that also wasn't something, a year ago, that wasn't something I was doing. So more of my energy is spent doing that. And again, I really love doing it. And I get to work with these really cool companies and I get to hold spaces for groups as large as I think I did one group that had over like 500 people. So that feels amazing. Like my impact, and of course with YouTube, you have the potential for a lot of impact because hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people can watch one of your videos. But the felt sense of the impact is different because you sit here, you make the video, you put it out, and then sometimes people comment. And the people who comment, you have a felt sense of, okay, my video landed in them. But if no one leaves a comment, who knows, right? It's just in the wind. And so the difference of sort of being in live time, sharing information, holding space, seeing people's faces, seeing the comments, seeing the reactions, it's so fulfilling. I've heard that often, and I think if you're in the world of manifestation and quantum jumping and reality creation, you understand that where your joy is, what excites you, where you feel happy and relaxed and grateful, that is where you're supposed to be. That's where the abundance is, because that's the truth of who you really are. And it's just so fascinating to be experiencing it in real time, where I'm like, I love YouTube, but it hasn't been the thing that's been most exciting to me recently. I tried to kind of manufacture ways to be excited again by doing things like the 30-day challenge at the end of last year. But if I'm honest with myself, what I really love is supporting people in one-on-one and group containers. Like, that's just what I love. And I love doing my inner work, which allows me to meet more parts of myself so I can better hold that space for others. And that feels like I'm really being of service, right? And so what I've noticed is that I've held on to YouTube from this belief that, well, YouTube is where it's basically I get clients, it's where I do lead generation for my coaching business. And it's also the stated focus of the coaching. It's like I help you start your YouTube channel. So even though what we really do is all of this really deep and beautiful emotional work that impacts every area of your life, I still use the hook of you launch your YouTube channel as the way that I grow that coaching business. I'm basically aware that it's starting to become there's a little bit of friction in that. And it's also rooted in lack and in scarcity to think like, oh, I've got to hold on to this way of doing things, this way of being, this method, this platform in order to have the kind of success that I want. And so with this video, I'm just practicing showing up here on YouTube in a way that is very easy. Very easy. I used to think like, no, you really have to do all this extra stuff in order to grow on YouTube. And I think there's some people who really enjoy doing that extra stuff and that's why they're successful. And there are people who really enjoy just pressing record and talking and that's why they're successful. So the key really is just to do the thing that you most like to do and not worry about it. So I think I'm gonna call this my no edit series. I think that's what I'm gonna let this next season of videos be, is me just coming on here, sharing what's alive in me, sharing what's going on in my journey, and sort of trusting that the people who will find it are the right people, and most importantly, that my abundance is not coming from anything external, When I thought about this video, what I really want to share is this idea that God is the source, right? Like source is the source. Like source is the source of money, of opportunities, of experiences, of relationships. And when we get caught up in thinking, oh, I've got to get my video out because then the people will subscribe and leave comments and then I'll be able to market to whatever company so I can get some sponsorship and then they'll sign up for my newsletter so that I can sell them on the like when we're thinking about the method and we're thinking about the how and we're saying the how is how I get to whatever it is versus connecting to the energy of truly already having it, truly already being abundant and flowing and creating from this place of what feels really good and exciting and meaningful and beautiful to me. Like what gets me like out of bed and I'm like, ooh, I can hardly wait to make this deck, right? That's where I am in my life, where things that have been really exciting have been sort of creating programs and trainings and planning events and all these things. And that's what feels super exciting to me. And it is something I think about because, ostensibly I'm saying I'm a coach to help YouTubers create. So I'm like, oh, I kind of have to keep showing up on YouTube in order to justify that marketing, right? And I'm like, all right, maybe that's true, which even then it's like, is that true? Maybe that's true. And if it is, then I'll do it in a way that feels very authentic to me. And that is also a big part of what I support creators with is it's not about showing up how someone else shows up. It's about showing up how you want to show up because the whole gift is what you are bringing to the world.